Welcome to Mercedes Second Chance Podcast, where we share real life stories about addiction, getting clean, and being given a second chance. Hi, how are you? My name is Mercedes, and this is the Mercedes Second Chance Podcast. I'm really happy to have you. You want to introduce yourself, Hubert?
Sure.
Okay.
My name is Hubert Mathews, Jr., and I'm so happy to be here on Second Chance, Mercedes.
Okay.
And, it's Mercedes Second Chance.
Mercedes Second Chance, yeah.
And, when you asked me to do this, I was excited, really. I said, because I've always heard about a podcast situation and I should start a podcast. But I didn't know how or what that looked like. So when you asked me to do this, I said, okay, let me go see what this is about and how it does. So when I walked into the studio, I was like, so this is what it looks like. And I got excited because it's another vehicle to be able to express and talk about things to get to people, right? And that's important to me. I'm happy to be here. And so I'm here to talk a little bit about myself.
Yeah. Well, first we'll start with how I met you.
Okay.
It's a little blurry for me because I was under the influence at first, and then I maybe had a couple days clean, and I remember you going around downtown by Greyhound, and you were just helping people. I didn't know what you were doing. You were so happy, and when I'm in the grips of addiction, I'm waking up like, I done woke up again. What am I gonna do? God, why? And I'm all messed up. And so to see you happy, it's like, what could you possibly be happy about? I didn't even know what day it was, let alone having something to be happy about. And I did notice that, you were really, really happy. And then you were really, really kind. And you treated me like a human being. And that's rare when you're out there and for me, I was sleeping in tents and on park benches and doorways and stuff like that. To have somebody look at me like a human, because sometimes we do desensitize ourselves towards the homeless.
Right.
And you treated me like that. And so then I thought, I'll never get clean. I know he wants me to get clean. I'll never do that. But then by the grace of God, later down the line, I did. And when I seen you in some recovery meetings, I was happy and I felt proud. Like, I made it, see?
That's right. I remember that day. I remember the reason why I was out around the Greyhound, because I was working in a program in the nonprofit that I work for today. And we were doing outreach that day. And so I was just doing outreach around that area and stuff. And then I remember seeing you across the street, and you had this aura about yourself that said to me, why are you out here? What's your story? Why? Why are you out here? So I wanted to get you connected with the program that I was in. And I think I gave you my card. And so, I give cards out and I talk to people all day long, right? So I didn't think I heard from you until I seen you in a meeting, a recovery meeting. And I was happy to see you there because I know that's where my life was changed, right? And I knew you had a chance to be able to find some direction and get some manageability in your life. And so when I seen you there, I was like, okay, because people come in and out of recovery meetings all the time and they don't stay for whatever reason. So you stayed, and I just, and you ended up where I was going to probably direct you anyway if you got into the program, but you found your own direction. And I was happy about that, right? Because really it's up to the individual to find where they want to go in their life. I can't make anybody change or want to go in a direction that they may need to go unless they want to, right?
Right.
Because it took me many chances to try to change my life from the route that I was going, right?
Right.
So.
Okay. So why don't you go into your story, how you started using, your life before that, and what changed and stuff like that.
Okay, so I'm a son of addicts, right? I have siblings who are addicts, and I was born in 1962, so I'm a civil rights baby, right? And so growing up for me was very much. It was okay. My parents left my siblings and me with their parents, and my grandfather, I stayed with him. He worked for the railroad, and my grandmother was a very homemaker, and she worked for a place called Waverly Baby Home. So she took good care of us, but she was sick, right? She had diabetes back. This was like the 70s and late 60s. So she died like in 1972, and that kind of sent, up until then, my life felt secure. After she died, the men in my life, she took care of all the responsibilities, the bills, and all that. So when she died, that left a gap. They didn't know what to do. Mm-hmm. So my father ran and got married to a woman that had 9 kids, and so that was beautiful for me because I had people to play with,
yeah,
friends and stuff, right? But my dad had an addiction, so the marriage didn't work, right? And so they got separated. And I stayed with him, which probably was a bad choice because he didn't know how to raise kids and stuff. So he just started drinking real heavy, and he wouldn't pay no bills or anything. So by my sophomore year in high school, I'm kind of like with nothing, no lights, no water, no food, and I was trying to go to high school. But I did because I played basketball, and I enjoyed basketball, and I liked to play on the team. So I stayed. That kept me in school. But all this time, I was always smoking weed and drinking, trying to cope, right? Mm-hmm. And it was fun, and we liked to party back in the late 70s and early 80s. And so I never even thought about being an addict or how that would affect me. But it did, because I was smoking weed, so I couldn't go to class. I would always be late to school. And I just did the bare minimum so I could play basketball. Mm. So that was the start of my addiction, right? And so, I somehow got out of high school. Somehow I did.
No
I got a diploma.
Scoot you along.
I got a diploma, and then I tried to go to college a little bit, but I never was really good in school because I was going to public school and I didn't really get the education because I wasn't going to class anyway and I wasn't applying myself. So college didn't work because I wanted to go to MBA, but it looked so distant and I probably didn't have the talent, so not to figure it out. So I went to the military. And I struggled through basic training, but I just like high school. I graduated basic training, and I came back to Oregon in the National Guard, and so I was trying to do the right thing, and I met my baby's mother. She was a dancer, right? And so we tried to be a family, but she got addicted to drugs, and I had I was exposed to racism, right? In the National Guard. And I remember experience, I wanted to be a state trooper because I was in the National Guard and I had the credentials to go on to be that. And I figured I could take care of my family like that. But I went to get an application and the officer behind the glass dismissed me. He wouldn't even give me an application. He wouldn't even look at me. Mm. So I left and I was angry. Right. So I had friends. This is the 80s. There wasn't no work. We was in a mass recession. There was no jobs.
Right.
It was horrible. So everybody was selling crack cocaine back then.
Here it comes. Tell us what that first one was like.
What happened? Well, I started selling drugs.
Oh, you started
with
selling
my friends.
Okay.
Right. I was using cocaine. I wasn't smoking. I was snorting it, and so I was making money, and then I started to put the cocaine rock in the weed because they would say this misinformation. This isn't as bad as putting the rock on the pipe. Right. So I did that, and it just went crazy. So the little success I was having selling drugs went away, and so my life began to tumble. Now I'm hooked on cocaine, and I became homeless. I went to prison. I went to jail, and I did that for 20 years. Oh, 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And then one day I looked up, I was 47. I didn't start smoking until I was 27. So when I, like Whip Van Winkle, I woke up and said, oh, wait a minute. I'm 47 years old and I haven't done anything with my life. Right? I haven't done anything. And I was like scared. I was too scared to continue to use, but I was also scared not to use because I didn't have anything going on if I stopped using. At least when I'm using, you know how they go. And so, but I made a decision to quit using because I knew that was the only way that I have a chance to have some kind of a life. I didn't know what it was going to look like. So I seen people that I had used with through the years who had stopped using and started going to recovery meetings and having that kind of a lifestyle who had changed their life around. So I said, well, I'm going to try that. I've tried everything else to use successfully. It never works. Let me see if I do this and how my life would turn out. So I went to treatment and I started following rules.
Yeah.
I started being responsible.
Okay.
I had to do the things. So what I did, how I tricked myself into doing that, I said, I'm going to do everything that I don't want to do.
We always got to have something. I was like, I'm going to do it. Everything they tell me to do, I'm going to follow rules so I can prove to them this don't work.
See, whatever it takes, right?
Right.
Because I got to trick myself to do the things that, because my belief system is self-destructive.
Right. Default. It's self-destructive.
So I remember when I was getting high and I had one of those moments of clarity and I said to myself, oh God, I'm about to dig deep in my soul to quit smoking crack. And I meant that because I knew it was just had that much of a grip.
Yeah.
So I guess my higher power heard that and I was able to dig deep into my soul and pour myself back into myself, right? Because, when I'm getting high, it's like turning yourself inside out, right? So I had to turn.
Is that what you call? I don't know what it's called.
That's what it looked like to me. So I had to go back in and turn myself back right side in, right? So I didn't get, because, yeah.
So did you said a prayer like, God help me?
That's pretty much what it was.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah,
okay.
Pretty simple. God knows what's going on.
Yeah,
I just gotta
help
say,
me. Help me stop smoking.
Help me, because I talk to God all the time, but I always do what I want to do. I'm self-centered.
Right.
God's there, but I'm driving the bus. God, I can drive it. God was
right.
like, you can't. And I'm like, yes, I can. Just move. Watch. And he'll let me drive, not crash and stuff.
And he'd be like, come fix it. Why you let this happen? You ain't no good. See, that's why I don't believe in you. That's how they do.
So that's what addiction is. That's what it looks like, right? Until you come to a place to where you can say, hey, I can't do it alone.
Right. You got to surrender.
I got to surrender.
And that's hard for us, especially with our people. And being a man, that's got to be hard to surrender. That's like telling, if being in the service to surrender, that's like the thing you don't do, right?
No, it was hard.
Yeah.
That was, but it helped. But all that experience, see, because we're talking about experience, I'll be 60 in July, right? July 7th. So where I'm at today, so I made that decision to quit using, and I continued to not use, and I continue, but I'm still afraid, right? I'm afraid. So I've gotten opportunity after opportunity, and I went into these opportunities afraid because I didn't know nothing, right? I'm not smart enough. I'm not, I'm not good enough. I don't deserve what I have, but I walked through that anyway. Even though I didn't believe, when I got my first, I'm a peer support specialist. I'm a qualified mental health associate. I sit on the Metropolitan Public Defenders Board. I'm on the Measure 110 Council. Wow. So I work with a lot of, I'm a supervisor now for men that are coming, for not just men, but men and women that are coming out of prison that needs to be transitioning into society. I supervise the program to help people with that. I'm a community activist. I work with an organization that helps gang life coach. So I have many different titles that I just really didn't look for because I was true to myself and I stayed clean and I did the next right thing. People started to see that and they said, hey, we can use you to do this, this, and this. I said, okay. A lady came up to me the other day and said, you're a peer, you're a peer, and we need you to talk to some peers with the medical field. I need you for like an hour a week, and I can give you $2,000 a month. Oh. I said, okay.
Yeah,
no problem.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So my lived experience has caused me to have experience to be able to help in the community with the situations that's going on now, the homelessness, the mental health, the addictions. I'm very well experienced in that.
So you know both sides.
Yeah, I know both sides.
Because
lived experience.
People that are closest to the problem are closest to the solution. Exactly. I really believe that. But I think is really special about you is that you really are good to people and you uplift them and motivate them. And that's not easy because to stay happy and stay positive takes work. It's easy to just throw in a towel and be miserable and hate on everybody else, but to really wake up intentionally and put your best foot forward and always take the path of of the most resistance to get, to stretch yourself and grow. That's really hard. And I noticed that you do that and how important that is to our community, because when I was in treatment and we had people like you, peer support specialists, they would come and they would take us to get food boxes and stuff like that. And I remember I had bags with me, and they would say like, why you got so many bags? And I didn't know why. I was just so used to having bags in the tent. Like something might happen, I got to keep my bags. I got food in here. I got aluminum foil. I got a book, but they treated me very kindly. And they would say like, Mercedes, you can get clean. And they would say, Mercedes, you won't be able to keep your house. Because what was really going on is I was afraid I was going to get high. I was going to use and they'll kick me out. But they would say, you can stay clean, Mercedes. You're never going to use again. And I'd say, how do you know that? You don't know that, And they'd say, I believe in you. I never had nobody look me in the eyes and say, I believe in you. That changed everything.
Gave you some hope.
It gave me hope. Like, well, man, this person seems sure of themselves. They're holding their stuff together. And if they believe in me, then like maybe it is something to me. Maybe I could be something. Maybe I can come back. And so, but without that being positive and loving and nurturing, that person-to-person contact, I don't know that I ever would have did that. Right. Because I had so many negative voices. I didn't have anything to counter that. Right. So, okay, so you were using,
right, and
you said your prayer, help me. God knew what was going on, and you started to stay clean. You went to these recovery meetings. How did you? What was like your experience the first time you went to recovery, and why did you continue to go?
So for me, I had to stay off the block.
Okay, people, places, and things.
Yes, I had to figure out because when I leave the block, I don't have no more friends.
Right,
all alone.
All alone.
And so being alone is not a good place for an addict, right? Mm-hmm. So I had to learn how to change my people, places, and things. So meeting attendance helped with that, right? That helped. And then, because I went to a morning meeting, an afternoon meeting, and an evening meeting. Mm-hmm. So I had a plan. I had to do it like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I had to, right? And then when that became normal and felt comfortable, I needed to stay. So then I started to get involved with being of service. Because see, if I'm being of service, if I'm helping other people, because see, in my disease, I'm taken. Mm-hmm. Everybody's a victim. I'm hunting because I got to feed my addiction.
Right.
So I had to change that perception and that mindset. So when I start doing that, then I'm saying, okay, let me start doing service work, like, things that we do to set up meetings and I've been around for just things that help be a part of.
Right.
Because when I was on the streets, I was in a dope house and I'd answer the door or I'd hold the sack or, whatever I could do so I could get another hit, right?
Right.
And so the same thing, so I do whatever I can to stay another day.
Right. You chase your recovery like you chase the dope.
Because my new perception and goal in life is to stay clean today.
Right.
Because, if I don't stay clean, then it's like Cinderella. Mm-hmm. When Cinderella got the magical fairy godmother, and she gave her a chance to be the princess
of the night.
But she had to be home by 12. Or else everything turned into a pumpkin and stuff. So I take that analogy as like, if I take a hit,
it's going back to that.
To the pumpkin.
Yeah, the pumpkin going to turn into a pumpkin. Those men is going to turn into rats. Right.
But as long as I don't use,
you get to stay in the palace.
I get to stay in the palace. Right?
I feel that way. I was talking to somebody recently, and they were like, Mercedes, you always got to go to meetings, because now that I'm working and I got all the social acceptability and I'm getting some things back. They're like, you still going to meetings? And I'm like, yeah. And they were like, well, you got a house, you got a car, you don't need to do all those things.
That's when you better do it.
Right. And then, and these are other addicts who don't go to meetings, but then they're constantly relapsing and, coming back and relapsing. And I'm like, all I know is these meetings work. Right. And if I want to go to law school and I'm in position to do that, and I want to work in politics, and now I'm doing that, and I want a brand new car and I'm doing that, and all I have to do in return is make a meeting once a day for an hour and a half.
And help somebody.
Right. And help somebody. I'm going to do it. Like, that's a fair trade-off, because what's the alternative? For me, jails, institutions, and death.
That's all you got coming.
And so I don't know what it is. For some reason, I believe that everything they say in the meetings, But one thing you talked about, and I want to go back a little bit, is that being of service. So you talked about going to the meetings early, setting up the chairs. We have coffee, setting up for coffee, and doing all like the grunt work that people don't want to do. And I remember that, because they told me to be of service, and it's really hard because before in our addiction, it's all self-serving. Like, you want to do the hottest things. I came in like, I'm too young for this. I want to go to parties. I want to go to clubs. I need to be at the strip club. I don't want to be making coffee in this basement, But I didn't want to go use again. I didn't want to, be that girl that was digging in my mom's purse after she was dead looking for money, And so
I can relate to that. I did that when my mom died.
You did?
Oh, yeah. I took the money out under the mattress. I didn't even go to the hospital with her because I knew she had some money in the apartment. So, I was going to get there because I couldn't do that. I felt like I couldn't help her because she was alcoholic. She was dying. She was in the late stage of her alcoholism. Her liver shut down. When I found her, she was semi-coma. And she woke up one time when they took her out. They took her out of the house. She looked at me, right? Mm-hmm. She looked at me as she was going out the door. That's the last time I seen any spiritual contact like that. Yeah. But I had to have the money, right? This is how vicious addiction is. I know my mama dying, but I got to have a hit.
Right.
I'll get to her after all the money's gone, maybe. Right.
Right, because the disease of addiction don't take bereavement. It's no more. No. Right. I relate to that because my mom, she died of a heroin overdose. Right. And I was going to the hospital. I was going to do everything, but I had to get some money to secure my bag of dope because I really felt like I couldn't live without it. And now she's gone. It's even worse, And I think that's really important, because we tend, for you, what I've seen, like, you go hard in your recovery. You're working your steps. You got a sponsor. You got a home group. You go into your meetings. You're of service. You're in the community. You're doing all those things. And some people will say, like, why does he go so hard? But when you hear something like
hard when I use.
Right. And then two, that pain can drive you, like, and that shame of what you were before. And that turns sometimes into willingness. Like, I don't want to go back there. So I'm going to, write this out. And, that's at least what I saw in you.
Well, what I did, because I knew how hard it was to break that cycle.
So hard.
It was when I to get out of that. It was, remember I told you I had to dig deep in my soul.
Right.
So I dug deep in my soul and I popped myself back to me. And so now I'm running. I said, oh, because I remember when I stopped using long enough that the desire left, right? The desire was gone. And I said, oh, it was like a spiritual awakening. I said, oh, I don't have to smoke no crack. I don't want to smoke no crack. I don't have to. Oh, now I can live. Now now I can do things. I can live. Because that's such a burden to use because it gets in the way of everything. Using gets in the way of everything.
Parenting, living, eating, sleeping.
All that.
Yeah.
There's no way. Mm-hmm. Addiction's very selfish.
Very.
It wants it want to kill you and it wants all your time until it gets you done.
Right. But it want to take you to the deep pits of despair. I heard a speaker say one time.
Everybody don't get there though. Some people take one hit
and die. Because most people that OD, they thought they had one more. That's what they say. See? And I think like, oh my gosh, that's so harsh. And I remember sometimes in meetings we hear like, some people have to die so some of us can live. Not that is the most selfish, insensitive thing. And I never got it until I had about 2 years clean. And it hit me like, if my mom hadn't died, I would have had no reason to get help. She was my enabler as well. I wouldn't have any reason to do what I do. And when I have the pain that I feel from the way I treated her, just the way I treated her, I can never undo that. So my amends to her is to stay in this program because in this program, I'm treating people good. It's changing my character. I'm being better. I'm of service and I'm a better member of society.
Exactly.
I'm a contributing member, of society. And
that's
being
who you're supposed to be.
Being who I'm supposed to be.
Because what happens in our country, in America, right? America uses whatever it is. America uses people, places,
we use drugs. They use war, money, government.
It's because we're talking about addiction, right?
Right.
We're talking about disease. So it don't matter if I quit using drugs, if I don't find out who I am and what I need to make myself feel good without putting on a mask or looking for that in somebody else, then I have to see now I'm at a place in my life to where I love myself, right? And not so much to where I don't want to help nobody or anything. I'm not going to harm myself and I'm not going to harm you. See, when I'm using, I'm harming me first and then you get it too, right? Because I don't love myself. But recovery has helped me to love myself and give myself an an infusion of hope to where I want everybody to have what I have.
Yeah,
right?
that's what it is.
So it's an attraction.
Yeah, it's carrying that message.
So I've seen people all the time that just getting out of prison that haven't seen me. I've been clean for 12 years. They haven't seen me in this light. So when they see me now, they're kind of like, they're curious.
Right. Something happened. Because they're wondering where you've been.
Yeah.
And you've been over here this whole time.
But then even with that, that's my personal thing. They just see the purpose. But I work in the field of services. So people want housing. They tell me what's going on with them. And then I can connect them to things that's going to help them. Right. I meet people all the time. And so by my higher power giving me a second chance, the second chance was without a job to do. And it's to be able to use my success to show other people that they can come out of this mess. Because, see, it's a family disease, and, you know, the mass people that are out here that are homeless and that are on drugs are lost. Society cannot fix it, right? Because, first of all, you can't fix it with money. You know, I've given people housing who weren't ready for housing because you have to be able to be responsible.
Right. If
you can't be responsible, you can't. People want my life, but I'm responsible.
Right.
You know, when I first got clean, I was scared to pay rent.
Right. And I remember that. You said you were terrified to pay rent, and then you said every month, on time.
On time.
That was so scary. Why was that so scary?
Because I was scared to be responsible.
To show up.
Because it felt like it was overwhelming. Like, I got to pay rent every month. Because I need a break.
Yeah, because we asked for Wednesday day off.
but I didn't really need a break because I quit that lifestyle. So that
was a big break right there.
So I had to learn how to be responsible. I had to learn how to manage my money. I had to learn how to manage my disappointments, and because life ain't fair. Life ain't fair.
Right.
People want life to be fair. It ain't fair. Are you kidding me?
You know,
nope.
It's not. But I was thinking about this too because I got upset. Something happened to me not that long ago, and I didn't deserve it, and I was hot. And I was like, God, I'm helping people. I'm doing the right thing. I'm praying, you know, and I'm doing everything you want me to do. And this happened to me. Why? And this is an attack from Satan. That's what it is. And, you know, and I'm coming against demons and everything. I got my smudge, you know, I'm all in the house.
Right.
But what happened is it kind of came to me. I see things like the shootings in Texas. I see people walk right. I see people walk right over the homeless people and don't think twice about them. You know, I see people, you know, treat other people wrong. I see people get fired for no reason. I don't say nothing about it. Don't bother me. I don't ask no questions. Why? But the minute something happens to me, life ain't fair. But I have had so many chances, second chances, third chance, like so many. And so you said you've had your second chance. And for me, my second chance looked like, I wanted to get clean. I couldn't. I didn't know how. I went to my dad's house. I detoxed, and I slept a little longer than I meant to, because I hadn't slept in about 45 days. So, And so I slept, and when I returned, my dad dropped me off where, you know, the illustrious tent I was living in, and I stood there, and it was like I remember looking out the tent, getting out, and just a voice, not even a voice, just a sensation say, "I'm giving you what you wanted." You know, you wanted to be, and it hit me all of a sudden like, I've been clean for 3 days. Right. Oh my God. What do I do? What do I do? Oh, I go to those meetings. Right. You know, and and luckily with the meetings, we have our meetings right where our addicts are at, our active addicts. So, you know, they're real close to the solution. And I went in the meeting, and that's what my second chance looked like. Like I sat in that seat, I said, "Hi, my name is Mercedes, I'm an addict," and I never went back. See? Never went back.
That one instant, that spiritual awakening you had with 3 days clean, you went to because you had a choice.
I had a choice.
You always got a choice. You could have said,
I had my money.
You could have said, you could have said, well, shoot, I've been clean 3 days. I'm gonna take one more.
Well, a part of me did think like, oh, it's gonna, like when I take a hit, it's gonna be better because you know when you detox a little bit, then your tolerance go down a little bit. So then when you take a hit, it's like, oh, it's gonna affect you more. So there's that, you know, that sick thinking.
I do. That's that insanity.
That insanity. And so what did the second chance actually look like for you? When did you know you were really given like a second chance and that you could take it?
When I got humble, and I knew. So I've been smoking crack for 20 years. So I'm a street addict. You know, so the gang, you know, the hustlers, the after hours, the selling dope, all that stuff that appealed to me kept me stuck, right?
The lifestyle.
Because the lifestyle had been, that little small window of the lifestyle been gone when I started using, right?
Right.
But my mind says, if I just quit using, I can go back to that lifestyle. I can have because I want to go back to the beginning of my addiction, right?
Right.
That's not possible.
Right.
Because it progresses, right? So that would keep me stuck. So when I said, at the same time when I said that I got to quit using, I also was saying I had to bury the lifestyle. And so I felt like a failure because in the game, this is for life. I'm a player. I'm going to be, and that's just that mask because that's not who I really wanted to be. But I was always attracted to that because of the nice cars, the clothes. I remember growing up watching Superfly and the Mac. And, when I was growing up, when I was like 10, 12, it was the 70s. So they had the big Cadillacs and the big hats. And, that's what it was. And that looked flamboyant. It was like, wow.
Yeah, it was
but by the time I became a man, see, this was a trip. By the time I became a man, those cats, them cats were dope fiends. Them was the cats I was selling dope to. Them players, them hustlers by then, they were all done. So I remember having a window saying, ooh, I remember him back in the day when he was a man. Now he's buying heroin and cocaine from me. And so this is my turn to shine. So I got there too with the cars, the jewelry and all that stuff. And it wasn't. And then I became the person that they were, the drug addict, who now the younger guys were selling me drugs, who was looking up to me.
Right.
Back, and then so that cycle. Right. So then the guys that were selling me drugs the first 10 years later, they were on drugs smoking crack with me. Right. And the babies down, the guys that was watching them are selling them drugs.
And it's a cycle. Yeah.
But see, so now the substances change, but the game stayed the same. It's still killing people, right? So now it's fentanyl. It was crack with me. Now it's fentanyl and meth. Right. When I was doing it was black tar heroin and crack cocaine and powder cocaine and pills has always been around, right? So it still does the same thing, killing people, right? Mm-hmm. But society's gotten so desensitized to what's happening with drugs. That's why you see people in tents and the police don't arrest nobody. Well, when I was using, the police was jumping out of vans and chasing us around. We had to hide.
Well, that's new because when I was using, I couldn't, like how they got the tents out and they're just on the streets and they're posted. Like there's some by my house that got a couch. Like they are comfortable. For us, we had to pack up our tent and leave in the morning. Exactly. Like we could not from 8 to 7 p.m. We had to be gone. That's why I was where I seen you at the homeless center. The homeless center, right? Well, I had my wagon with my tent on it, not too far away, tied up. I tied up because I don't want nobody messing with my stuff. See? And it was all I had. And so, but I remember that's what kind of made it hard. Like it wore on me, like having to carry my tent where I sleep and my covers and my clothes and shoes and a bat because, it gets crazy at night, and then paper. And I had the nerve to have a Bible because I would pray. I love
trying
the Bible.
To live.
I would pray. I pray hard.
And it helps you.
It was, because I would keep it. Sometimes they want to break stuff down on it, and I'd be like, no, not this book. Right. You get the little table over there, And
so you kept your spirituality.
I was a praying dope fiend. It's crazy,
Kept you alive.
Yeah, definitely, something.
Kept you alive.
Yeah, but that constant moving and no stability, it was like
a nomad.
Yeah, I was like, God, I just need a break. I just want to lay down, like. And that I feel like that makes you get closer to that rock bottom. But when you let people get out, out here and they're getting comfortable, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, do something with these people. But okay, so we're our time's coming to a close end. There are some things that I want to know, and I had a couple of questions. What would you say is the best part of recovery? No, first, what advice would you give for somebody new in recovery?
Trust the process.
That's my favorite thing.
Trust the process.
Trust the process.
Because everything's a process, right?
Right.
And love yourself. Learn to love yourself and learn how to do the next right thing. And learn to be responsible,
Right. And this is the kind of stuff we learn in meetings. That's why they say meeting makers make it.
And it takes time. You're not going to feel comfortable with those things. Because, see, I'm a dirty, rotten scoundrel on drugs, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I live off character defects when
Right.
I'm using drugs, right? Today I live off spiritual principles, you know, and so, you know, I'd have to go back. To go back to that, I'd have to make a conscious decision to screw my life up.
Right.
I'd have to say, you know what? I just want to be screwed up.
Yeah.
All the things that I've gotten, I just don't want to do anymore. I just want to be screwed up.
Right. Yeah, that's that hopelessness. So what is one of the spiritual principles that you live by, that you use day to day or frequently?
Well, one of the spiritual principles I live by on a daily basis is trust.
Trust
The process.
Trust the process. Okay. It's real
Trust.
simple. Right.
Trust. I have to trust people. I have to trust what I do. Because even though it's been working right, I still got to believe it.
Right. You got to
See?
trust it. You got to turn it over.
So I
get
continue to do what I've been doing from the beginning.
Right.
I still go to meetings. I still hang out with the people I hung out. Because, see, I got new friends. I did hang out with my old I got high school people, brothers that they know I'm in recovery. Everybody knows I'm in recovery, but I hung with them. They still do that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I don't do it, right? You know, the one guy offered me a drink of his pint, you know, and I just looked at him. I looked behind me. Who you giving that to, right? I don't need that. So I don't need it, right?
Right.
And then so I said, you know what? You know why I don't drink that? They say, why? I said, because the police is coming. They're coming. If I take a hit or a drink, the police is coming for
something
sure.
that, yeah, they will be called. That's funny.
Let's go open that up, right?
Okay, so I guess we'll end with this. What do you do to get past your fears, like for today in recovery?
I'm a supervisor, right? Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to do it because I didn't believe that I could handle the responsibility. Mm-hmm. But I got all the experience I need to do it. Yeah. So I faced my fear and I applied for that job anyway, hoping that they're not.
You just showed up, suited up, and showed up.
I signed up for it. It was like I didn't think they'd hire me, right? Then I got the call for the interview. I said,
yeah.
Then I did the interview and they called me the next day for a second interview. Yeah. In a week, I had the job. And I was like, oh, but I could have got more money with the county, but I took the supervisor job because I wanted to be able to see if I had the leadership skills to be able to lead.
That professional development.
Right, this professional development. Because I can always go and get for the state or the county because I built my resumes up to where, you know, I can write, I leave stuff off my resume. I don't put everything
right. With
right, I can pick and choose what I do. I remember when I first had a resume, I didn't know what.
I didn't have nothing on mine.
I didn't have nothing.
Or either it was a lie.
Right.
From the top to the bottom, I copied and pasted. I went on Google.
So the process works and my life is great.
Yeah. Trust the process and use trust. If you, let me think. If you had one thing that you would say is the most powerful in NA, like what is the most powerful thing that we have going on? What would you say is the most powerful thing?
Well, the hope.
Or I can't even say it. I would say in recovery. My bad.
The hope. It's all right. The hope that I've gained.
The hope.
I know that I know there's nothing's impossible for me in my life. Nothing. I want to be a United States Senator. Yeah. I really do.
I want to be me too.
You know.
Governor something.
Something I do.
Put me in there, right.
I think, and I think that's possible.
It's definitely possible.
But
I can see you there.
But
I already see you there. You'll be there.
So, you know, and if that happens, so be it. You know.
And if not, you're still good with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what recovery also brings is that content and that peace and that real love for yourself. Like if I never do it, you know, I'm okay with me. Right. And that's important. Well, I want to thank you for coming on our show.
Well, thank you for having me.
You're great. This is great, right?
It is.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thanks for listening. Please like, share, subscribe, and visit our website at mercedessecondchance.com.